people are hurting. That sometimes it ain't the spirit. Sometimes that's just trauma. Sometimes they're just beat down and they're just like they just want to cry it all out. But if they can talk to somebody who is trained to do this, so much more will come out. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Love Speaks. I am your host, Tiesha Carvil. And with me today, we're bringing back our awesome guest, Tiesha Carvil, with Healthy Mind Therapeutic Services. If you missed last conversation, you definitely want to go back and listen to that conversation because we talked about some great information around substance abuse, generational curses, and so you want to hear that information. So I want to welcome back my guest, Tiesha. Thank you so much for being here with me again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're just sitting chatting, talking. There's nothing formal about this. This is my sister, my home girl. We do this on private. We talk on the phone for hours and then we realize, okay, we got to go. So welcome back. It's good to be here with you. If you missed the last episode, she is a therapist. Her field of study is substance abuse, but she provide therapy services for all individuals. So if you need therapy, you can always look her up and she'll be able to provide her information. You can also look down in the description below to get her information. But we're going to continue this conversation around substance abuse. We had so much great things you shared with us in the last episode, but we want to continue now. We want to talk about some of the common misconceptions around substance abuse. We want to jump right in. What are some of the common misconceptions around substance abuse?
Well, let me go back just a little bit because I don't want the people to say you can go into a field of straight substance abuse. No, I am a social worker. That's what I studied. But so social work is I call myself a generalist practitioner. That's what they kind of call
Very
us
vast.
because we can practice almost anything. And substance abuse is my niche. That's kind of what I went into and just kind of worked with people with substance abuse issues. So, but it's all mental health. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is.
So, but the most common misconception about substance abuse is that they do not recover. That is a lie. They do recover. I have
Go back and say that again because people always said, and we know that we heard it in the hood.
Once a crackhead, always a crackhead.
Yeah, we have to just say what we heard, and please deal with that misconception.
They do recover. There's so many meetings. I have. There are some social workers that I know who are in this field who actually go to, their AA meetings. They go to the different meetings that they have for NA, which is Narcotics Association. They have all these. They have such a great thing. I was like, I probably should have did drugs because I want to go. They go on the cruise ships. They do also. They have like these wonderful things, but they all because they know that it takes community in order to be able to stay clean. They have to stay clean. And the way you do that is to admit that you had a problem. Even if it's, I know people with 30 years clean. Isn't that amazing? They have, their families, they're, married, and they're doing wonderful. They're working in business. They're doing a lot of wonderful things. So that is one common misconception is that once a crackhead, always a crackhead. That is not true. They do recover, Lakeisha.
And I'm glad you addressed that misconception because even I had to a part of one of my assignments when I was doing marriage and family therapy. I had an assignment that I had to go and sit in anonymously at a AA Alcohol Anonymous meeting, and that was one of my assignments. So I had to go there as if I was an alcoholic, and I couldn't acknowledge to anyone who I was, but I had to sit in the meeting, and I had to observe, and then I had to write, of course, my assignment in regards to my experience.
Yes.
And then I had to also go back and attend one of the family settings for the Alcohol Anonymous, and just to hear the stories that are shared from the families, because a lot of people are not hopeful when they have, someone who's experienced substance abuse because of those misconceptions. We hear more so often than not that there is no recovery. There's no true recovery for anyone who's an addict or,
Well, you gotta think about
abusing.
It. we grew up in the era, the crack epidemic. We, saw, from our many conversations, we saw these things. We saw people walking the streets. It was like zombies, walking the streets and these things. And so you still kind of see that now. Someone sent me, I want to say you sent me a video of where the people were just on the street and they were just leaning. So
fentanyl.
right, the fentanyl. So you see the parents, they see this often. The kids have stolen from them, and it's just been years of this happening, and they're just like, they give up. But hope. You have to have a little hope to know that, and pray for these people because they can recover, but they have to. Here we go back to that. They have to, you're taking something away that makes them feel good, that makes them forget, that makes them, not want to be where they are. And now you're saying, hey, give it to me and we're going to, help you to get better. Sometimes, oftentimes, people have nothing better to go to. So when you're, saying or trying to take something back from them and say, hey, no, I'm here to help you, the answer or the question they always ask is, how? Or, what I usually get, and you're going to get this too when you start fully practicing, people usually ask, have you ever been in substance abuse? Have you ever, been in my situation before? And so this is what, and I'm going to give this to you for free, and you're going to use this and tell them. Do you go to the doctor and ask them, have you ever had a broken arm? Have you ever had a broken leg? No, you just want them to fix it. I have the knowledge, I have the tools, and I have the skills to be able to help you to get to where you need to be. And not only that, even with you, you've worked with people, even myself, when I've come to you crying on days where I'm just like feeling defeated, and you're like, no, you will not be a defeated foe. You speak into my life. And that's what people need in this time.
And I can kind of understand because I think in most cases their question is kind of drawn from finding someone that is relatable, someone that can really understand them, not just by words or knowledge or information, but by experience. So I do, kind of can understand why they ask that question to see, are you relatable to the extent that you've experienced what I've experienced. I really appreciate you addressing those misconceptions regarding substance abuse because I often heard it as well. And I had the privilege of, kind of being in my professional arena as a benefits counselor, being on site at a mental health facility. And I was there for about 2 weeks. And it was a privilege to be there because when I sat across from many of the employees, I heard their personal testimony. They were employees by way of substance abuse. They were either residents there at the facility, they were once abusers and users, and now they're therapists, or either they're, workers or counselors to help those on their journey from abuse to becoming free. And so I do believe that there is a great misconception around that. And I just want to say to anyone who's watching us that may be dealing with a loved one or a family member, and you too heard those misconceptions and you feel that there is no hope, I come to tell you there is hope, and don't stop believing. And don't stop assisting and helping, because one day the light comes on, and one day they realize that I do need to stop this and I need to put this down, but just be the community that they need and the support system. And so thank you so much for addressing that misconception. And so we talked so much greatly about substance abuse in our prior episode, but I want to continue to talk in that vein, but I want to talk about you in private practice as well, because you did not choose to be in a general practice or practice with a corporation. You chose private, and I know that requires a business side. It's just not saying, okay, I'm going into private practice and everything and get paid for it. So that requires, some dynamics around business. And so just expound, talk about what that looked like for you, coming out of graduate school, saying, I refuse to work in corporate America, but I'm going to do this, on my own. What does that look like for you?
Well, I'm honestly not on my own. I have a whole village behind me. My husband is absolutely amazing. But it started in graduate school. I was, you have to do your internships and things like that. I actually started working. I didn't have to interview. So I was working for the company that I was interning with. I was really, really good. I absolutely love what I do. I love working in the substance abuse community. I understand it in a way that I think most people don't. But that's because I am the child of a substance abuse user, so I understand the lies. I understand the foolishness behind it. But in the last segment, I talked about why I got out. And working for corporate America was something that I just knew within my heart that I wouldn't stay to do because of the lack of representation for Black people. And so what I did was, and a lot of people, they say that they're in business, but it takes a lot of things behind it. You have to know your business for yourself and what you want to actually go in. Because as I said, I'm a social worker. So I can go into so many different avenues. And oftentimes you hear social workers don't get paid. That's a lie. That's a lie too. So you have to know what you want to work in. And substance abuse has always just been my thing. But we've added other things onto that as well. So here soon, we will be adding intensive outpatient and aftercare. So it's the same things that you would get in a treatment facility. Oftentimes they have to send people to an outpatient because once they're finished with everything, what are they going to, because you still have to do maintenance. That's the thing behind going to AA meetings and all these different things. You still have to do maintenance because it can come back on you. You can stop one day and then you can have the idea that everything or the world is crashing in on you and you'll use. So you have to have somebody and some things around you to support you. So my husband, he actually said, hey, this is something that you want to do. I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years, and he helped me go through school and so many different things. And he said, if this is what you want to do, I'm going to support you. And it just kind of happened from there, and we've just been adding new things, more things to help the community as well. And so that's how it started.
And so what was the process like for you legalizing the business? I often say this because I do have to always put that plug in there because
We
I
are
sit
legal.
down with and I see today I was having a conversation with a friend just the other day and I said so many people with so many credentials, but they don't have any certification, don't have the education, and they've gone to, and she was joking because I said it on a prior broadcast. She was like, you're just hilarious because you make sure you insert in there, that she is licensed, that she is, trained, and, so it's not something that you just went through a certification for, and your business is not something that you just opened up the doors to and say, healthy minds, come and see me. But no, there is a legal process that has to take place, and there is a education that has to take place. So I just like to make sure I always put that out there for anyone who have worked, because I'm working every single day, and every time I sit at my computer and I'm doing homework or doing something, and I say, whoo, we have to give credit to those who go through this road and take this process of getting these credentials and doing it right. Not taking the shortcuts, not just showing up on the scene saying that I'm a capable, able individual, come to me, and now branded myself
as this
and market myself as
I love
this.
where you're going with this.
So we see it.
Oh, yeah, this
how,
is good.
as an individual practitioner for your practice, being in private, did you have to legalize that, and what steps did you take?
Oh, yeah, I'm burning right now.
No, you are.
Yeah. There is a difference between the real and the fake, right? So, oh, man, my mind is doing like this. So with you, right? You've been ministering for years. You have some things behind your back, and God is also behind you as well, pushing and thrusting you forward. You're not fake. When people come into your presence, there is something that is about you that says you have the credentials to do what you need to do, correct? So then there's the counterfeit. But sometimes people would rather the counterfeit because when they come to you, you're going to expose and see too much that they don't want you to see. So people would rather go to the fake. So there was this whole, remember this thing when everybody was getting, when people were getting, what was that? They were not counselors, but
mentors.
They were mentors.
Yeah, mentors and coaches.
They were the life coaches.
The coaches.
The life coaches
that were trying to replace the therapists that are licensed and trained. So
that was a big, I would ask, so people would come and say, my life coach. I said, your life coach. But the life coach can only go so far because people start to what? Manifest their traumas. They want you to help them, but you have no credentials to back anything. You've never even seen it. So when you get ready to go for your internship, you're going to practice. You're going to see these people. Not only do you see it already in the church because so it's not going to shock you when you go, right? But these people are going to manifest right before you. What are you going to do? So I don't hear anymore too much about life coaches and mentors and things like that because these same people were looking for a buck, but they have their own mental health issues. A lot of them, I would see them and I would say, but baby, you still got, oh, I'm going to leave it alone. It's none of my business. But if people were coming, they were paying this money. But I'm asking you for $175 to build this thing for you so you can see how you are the problem. They don't want to be the problem. Everybody else is but them. So what was your other question?
In regards to just in regards to legalizing the practice, because I think there's a lot of, kind of things that are taking place today where we don't operate, I believe, with the legal standards that we need to. And when you're talking about someone's mental health, that is something you have to handle with diligence.
Yes.
Talking about
Yes.
substance abuse, you have to handle with diligence.
Yes.
And I believe no one should be in that field or operate from that arena without having the legal standards that are
Correct.
required to operate. So it's not something that, okay, I just opened my doors and now I got to practice. Come to me
No.
and talk to me. No,
No,
I just
no.
want to make sure it is understood that although you in private practice, you didn't just open your doors to Healthy Minds,
No.
Services, but therapeutic services, but this is a legal business.
Correct.
Legal
So,
with the state,
yes.
On every level.
Every level. There is nothing that I can do without you have to, if not. So I just read the other day that it's a third degree felony for lying. You can't, I don't want to go to jail. So we're not going to jail. So everything I do, so when I first started out, according to the state of Florida, if you're going to have a private practice, you have to have someone, because when I came out, I was still just an RCSWI, which is a registered clinical social work intern. You have to apply for that. So you can practice therapy, you can practice these particular things, but you have to have a licensed clinical social worker or a licensed mental health therapist or a licensed mental health counselor over you in order for you to be able to do the business that you're doing. You can't just walk in and say, hey, I'm just going to open these doors. Then that means I'm a life coach.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I'm not a life coach. I went to school for this. I had to get all this stuff just to be able to. And then you have to do the CEUs every year. I'm in school all year round. So there's no stopping getting around school. So once you have all the things you need to do, then you have a test that you have to take to get your clinical license. The test is not easy, but then you have to get your clinical license. Once you get your clinical license, you can practice, but it will be under somebody else's license because you're still kind of doing those hours. I just personally took that route. There were a lot of people who did not want to, because I asked, they didn't want to do the supervision for me because they said you're moving too fast. In business, I always tell people this is not a workaround. This is what the law states. But you have to be a capable business person. You have to be business minded and know exactly what you're doing. So not only do I do certain things for myself, but I have licensed therapists that come in and do some work for me as well, the things that I can't do, because you have to have that stamp of licensed person to do this. So I not only do things, with myself that I can do, I bring in people that are fully licensed that can do other things as well. So we're not just happenstance, hey, we're just open doing all this stuff. No, people are coming from the courts that are coming into us, people that are with some serious mental health issues. What I can't do is go to jail, Lakeisha.
And when you can't help, you refer out. That's what.
Yes, we try not to as much, because you want everything to be in house. Yeah. But if we have to, we will refer you out. And those are those complex trauma issues. Like you have some people that are really complex issues. We have to refer them out.
And so, how many years of experience do you have in the field of clinical?
Working privately, I was doing this when COVID started, so from 2020, but doing this service without like just actually working in social work together as a whole, maybe about 10 years or so, you know? So, but having the license and everything to do this since 2020.
Yeah. And so, a lot of times I hear that too. Social workers don't make any money. Yeah, you're even seeing social worker
You haven't
salaries I've
seen,
seen
yeah.
because I've seen it in many different facilities, hospital based, and I
Hmm.
look at some of the salaries, and they do make good money. And social workers are needed
Yes.
today more so than ever because there are so many issues. You deal with social issues. When you think
Yes.
about social worker, you think about the social part of it that deals with the day to day issues that plagues our communities.
Hmm.
And talking about that substance abuse, because when we talked earlier on our prior conversation about substance abuse, where I think a lot of things that go are ignored when we talk about prescription abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we stated earlier, because I've been prescribed, I'm not abusing. The doctor gave me this. But I want to just speak on that again, just on this episode. Because I think it's such an important, because a lot of the people, like you said, pain with your testimony regarding your daughter who had an injury and
Yeah.
they prescribed her Percocets.
Yeah.
These drugs they prescribe, but yet it's supposed to suppress that pain, but yet it's causing the
Oh,
addiction
yeah.
as well. And we've seen that in a lot of family members, and some may even be watching this episode saying, I have family members and loved ones who experienced and encountered that. So, what methods of treatments are available for those who are? When do you recognize, I guess, that as an individual, that there is an addiction here? It's beyond now me addressing the pain. How can one, come to a self realization that this is bigger than the pain that I'm experiencing, and I'm using these pills and these drugs for something different. And I think because it's a
Right.
good feeling. I tell people I got to be honest. And you and I know we've had this
Yes, we've
conversation
had this.
talking about substance abuse where I had
Yeah.
a prior surgery and they
Yeah,
gave me
those
wasn't
pills
Percocet.
feel good.
It was
Yeah.
Oxycontin, and it
Yeah.
sent me to another realm that I've never been before. But I felt so good that I
Yeah.
wanted to stay there.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so I think that's where a lot of people just kind of go back to
Yeah.
that because they want to
Mhm.
kind of keep
That
repeating that
feeling, yeah.
feeling. And so, how can you address that for our
W-
viewers?
Well, like you said, they have to be able to come to themselves. But we talked about the activities of daily living. It will, um, it will be, it will be. No, they won't be able to do it. They won't be able to do those daily things. And you will hear the terminology rock bottom. But sometimes people can hit rock bottom and they like it there, and then they'll go through the second rock bottom and they have to almost go to hell in order for them to say, okay, enough is enough. Enough is enough. They had one drug out there called crocodile. Do you know what they were doing? See, you don't even know what that
Never
is,
heard of a
right?
crocodile,
Oh, you're
no.
going to hear about it when you go into your treatments, right? So they would take gasoline and put it. And so remember, I said when you can get high here, then you can get another high, but then it's not enough. So the gasoline was getting them higher than high, but then it would turn their skin into that's an instant death sentence. So that's like, you would think, that's what I mean by you can go to that type of hell, but they want that high. They want the high so that they can get rid of whatever it is that's going on. I can't treat that. You have to go into a treatment facility. There are so many facilities here in South Florida. What they usually do, and this is one of the things that, my mom was saying, well, I can get the best drugs in treatment. You can't just take a person that has been doing heroin for years and say, okay, we're going to just take that away from you right away. No, no, no. You have to do medication management and maintenance and management. So you have nurses, you have doctors that are there that are in a facility, and it's a closed facility. You can leave if you want to, but 9 times out of 10, the parents are paying for you to be there. Your insurance is paying a lot of money for you to be there, and they wean you off of these drugs, but they do supplement it with other drugs too. But it's monitored, and they help you to get off of these drugs. And this is how you can be helped if you want it. And then you go through the different treatments that are there. So you have inpatient, whereas you go into the facility, and then you have the housing portions that they have there as well, and you get to stay. and they give you the time to kind of get yourself together. You go to groups and things like that in there, and all these things that you get to do while you're there. I don't know why the names just slipped my mind, but you have these, the IOP. Well, that's intensive outpatient, but the inpatient portions of the therapies that are there. You have a therapist that's on site, and they treat you and they talk to you. They do all the things, in the actual facility that some people really need.
And so, what services do you offer at Healthy Minds Therapeutic Services for our viewers that are watching? We have all of your information behind, below for them to look in the description box. But also, if you can just leave that information, tell us the services you offer and how they can reach out.
So we, I told you we're always adding something new. We even offer Department of Transportation services. So what we do is we do drug and alcohol evaluation. So we have the SAP program, which you'll meet with a substance abuse professional that will do the evaluations that you would need in order to go back to work or do the different things that you need to do, for your activities of daily living, right? And so we have that. The DOT portion is where we do the drug testing. So we offer 5-panel and 10-panel. And remember, I say I got a certification for everything. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to just do your drug testing. You probably can. Like, you can go to the store and order something for your kid. But in order to do it at the level that I'm doing it at, you do have to have a certification for that. So we've just been certified to do drug testing for all the truck drivers, all the FAA, FMCSA, and these are just the people that are airline pilots, railroad, bus drivers, all the people. They can come in and, get drug testing with us. And we also have a program where they can, return to duty and different things like that. What else? We offer classes for substance abuse. We offer group sessions. We offer anger management. We even have domestic violence. And I also just did a certification for families. So you come in, and if you have to do, like when you go to court and they say, well, you have to do a family class, we do those classes as well. I do everything.
That's great because it's all therapy. Again, it's social services, so we need to be able to address the needs of our community. And so we do have just one more question. We're going to go with just one more question that just came up. One more question. So what do you say? We just have to interject.
People want to know.
We
People
want to
wanna
know.
know.
We want to know, right? What do you say to the person that feels like all they need is Jesus?
Oh, yeah, I always tell people, because the only people that say that.
So,
is
we hear that a lot. I don't
Yeah.
need to talk to a therapist.
I
I
can
don't
just
have
talk
a
to
problem.
Jesus.
I don't even, let me just go. Yeah, you got an issue, go to Jesus. What do you say to those people?
I always say Jesus in therapy. What is it going to hurt? Some people say that they can, talk to Jesus and they hear from, but are you hearing rightly? Sometimes God will send somebody. This is why we have pastors and leaders and things like that. They're speaking into your life. And God put people such as myself and people that I know who are amazing therapists. You're going to be an amazing, because you have two components, that you'll be able to use. And the other one that people, they don't even know what they're getting ready to get when they get you. You know what I'm saying? So God is going to be able to use you to speak into so many different lives. And you got the education, you got the natural portion as well. So, Jesus and therapy, it does work. It does work. Every now and then, people, they're saying they're slain in the spirit. No, people are hurting. That sometimes it ain't the spirit. Sometimes that's just trauma. Sometimes they're just beat down and they're just like they just want to cry it all out. But if they can talk to somebody who is trained to do this, so much more will come out. Jesus and therapy. It works. It works.
I absolutely love it. I often say personally myself, and we have it in our Love Cafe. We, after a little quote that says, coffee gets me started, Jesus keeps me going.
There you go.
Therapy will get you started, but Jesus will keep you going.
So
we
let's talk about that.
Let's get
We
in.
always tell people they need an anchor. Who is your anchor?
Yes.
They need an anchor. We use that often in substance abuse. They always talk about you need an anchor. That's one of the steps. What is who are you going to call? What is your anchor? What are you going to use? Who are you going to need to? Who are you going to use to call on? Some people say higher power. I say Jesus.
Yeah, because you are a Christian therapist.
Yes, absolutely.
And so we're going to live out our faith in every single arena, rather if it's in our professional, our spiritual,
Absolutely.
every arena, we're going to live out our faith. And if Jesus is the center, we're going to always lift him up. And so,
Absolutely.
again, thank you so much for what you're doing. Continue to lift him high and continue to be that great therapist that you are. Thank
Thank
you
you.
again for bringing this information. And that's why we had to have you on this episode of Love Speaks and continue this conversation, because you're doing a great work and being able to provide all of those services to our community, rather if it's through the substance abuse, rather if it's through your testing, drug testing, whatever service you're providing, I'm pretty sure they are needed and they're wonderful for our community. If you can just please leave here for us, of course, it's in the description again, but the website where they can reach you and any contact information you want to leave for the viewers.
No problem. It is www.mymyhealthymind.me. So I chose that because, it's about the self. It's not me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us again on this edition, coming back, sharing more vital information concerning the mind, concerning
Yes.
mental health, and concerning substance abuse. And this was a great conversation. One thing I picked up from Tiesha today, she talked about the ADLs, and I often use that terminology, but I use it for long-term care. In something relating to substance abuse, you can know when you need help if you cannot function with your ADLs, and that's sometimes just feeding yourself, bathing, clothing. You can't afford to buy clothes. You can't afford, because we are using our funds for drugs. And when it start taking away from your daily living, then that means you need help. And help is here with Healthy Minds Therapeutic Services. So definitely reach out if you have any family members that you just want to get information from. This is what this podcast is for. It's for us to bring vital information into your homes, vital information to you concerning individuals that doing great work in the community. And so we want to say thank you again for joining us on this episode of Love Speak. And we look forward for you joining us each and every single Tuesday at 6 p.m. So thank you for watching this episode. We look forward to having you again. Stay tuned.